256 changes? That can't be right. Faction identity being worked on? Oh, this is really good for beta. Oh, wait. Aren't we in release? And now it's raining, because time is not a fixed construct. I'm Patinator, and I woke up this morning with a blue moon in my eye and the announcement of the new patch that is coming in the next few days, possibly in Thursday my time, probably Friday. Everywhere there's probably going to be a night stream about it. At a glance, I feel okay about it, super okay. Saitama, okay. I mean, I am not excited to see that many changes again. I thought that we were done with this. I thought we were in release, but hey, this is a live service, and if you gotta have a live service, this is probably, sorry, I did not mean to roll up my sleeve star. This is probably the best way to do it. In a live service, you're supposed to continually update it and fix any problems, and the problem was people were saying do not play Northern Realms because that is a quick way to hate yourself, which I didn't do, but I did, like, oh geez, we're not touching this for a while. I got punched in the dick. I don't want to keep punched in the dick. I'm not shaming you if that's your thing, but it is not mine. So that's good. Let's focus on the good part about it. I mean, a lot of the deck guides you've seen probably no longer apply, because enough of the cards have changed that the contents of the deck changed, the provisions have changed, the expectations have changed, the meta has changed, and it's not a natural change because new cards were introduced, but new cards were shifted. La di da di da. So let's just focus on the positive, and remember, we are getting this for free. And while that does not justify a lot of things, in this case, that is just part of the deal when you have a live service. Sometimes things are gonna get nerfed, sometimes things are gonna get changed, sometimes unrecognizably. So let's just take a look at the notes, at the summary. I will provide a link to the predictable Reddit thread that we are going to just talk over. Hello, we're here now. All right, general info. We now get a 6th syndicate leader. I am not going to try to predict it. I am not going to try to predict the meta. I am not that guy. I'm sure there are lots of guys who do it. I just don't think it's responsible to, like, you know what I bet this means? No, okay, I'm probably gonna do that, but not for the actual impact of a card, because people craft cards, and it's kind of disappointing to, like, craft a card that ends up being completely pointless. So I'm not gonna be responsible for you, like, spending scrap without, like, being confident in my opinion and having something to back it up with. And now information is quote-unquote scarce again because enough cards are going to be changed, and thank God I didn't finish my spreadsheet, because I do not want to look over that thing just like +1 -1 +1 -1. The point is 256 card changes including 4 leaders. That is, I don't know how many cards are in Gwent, but I'm pretty sure it's a big number of cards. A lot of this is based on the changes they want to make with damage. Damage dealing as a whole will be reduced, except probably for, like, in-house cards or very specific cards. For special cards, for units, I believe that's going to be nerfed as a whole, which implies now it implies a lot of things, but it implies something big. Mid-range is taking a huge hit, because the value of mid-range, and also the reason they don't want to use locks, and if you don't know what mid-range is, a mid-range deck is a deck that can out-tempo control, and, at least to my understanding, out-tempo control and control enough of an engine to gain the points advantage. It has no big finishers, it just adjusts its play according to what it is facing. It is an indirect nerf to them, because mid-range might no longer have the control aspect of it, and it might not even have the points aspect of it anymore. You'd have to commit to one theme or another. Mid-range, for example, could get away with maybe, and just an example, it's not a common card for them, I think, with a Regis Bloodlust. It's an 8 power card for applied to the opposing side of the board, removing an engine, possibly permanently, deleting, say, a Roach that could return later on, or a Verdanian ship thingy, whatever it is, and that's how it applies its control. Now, if it only deals, like, 2 damage, it can't control as well, even if you give it the base body more power. For example, I don't know if that's actually what's going to happen, but for example, it's now a 6 power body with 2 points of damage and a banish effect on it. It still has the control aspect, but it can't shut down most engines reliably. Most engines, with possibly the only exception, are 5 cards like Necker or that the Draco thing is are 2, so you can't just plop it down like, well, there goes your engine, sucks to be you. It's like being deported to a country but isn't your home country. That's how bad that feels. They no longer have that control, and if their power isn't adjusted accordingly or their provisions aren't adjusted accordingly, they also no longer have the power to overwhelm a heavy control deck, because they don't traditionally have as many engines for a control deck to take advantage of. But a control deck might still remove what power they do have. It actually changes the idea of what control is in a sense, at least for, maybe we should have a bigger camera for this. Is this the one? Yeah, it changes the idea of what a control deck is. If balls out damage is no longer available on as many units, like a one-shot, one-kill sort of deal, except for maybe special cards, which is important. There's an important distinction there, because if it's on a unit, you develop power on your board, your win condition, while simultaneously removing an engine. A special card does not do that. A special card is like, it doesn't advance your agenda, it just removes their agenda, which is why I can understand why stuff like Alzur's Thunder is still gonna have that 5-point hit on it. It's just, sure, it removes an engine, but it doesn't, get you card advantage. It doesn't give you power advantage. It doesn't give you more body. You need to establish a presence first before Alzur's Thunder means something. And it might change the meaning of control in that control is no longer like, well, I've got more damage than you. Control might actually go back to locks. Locks might matter again. I want to say Ox matters again. Sarah's the one that punches stuff. I just know him as the guy that's like, yeah, and the guy that's like gutting a dude. That's all I remember of him. So Nilfgaard might be a thing again, especially since they appear to be beefing up some locks. The Alba Cavalry? Well, we'll get to more of the changes later, but the Alba Armored Cavalry is now a 4 strength instead of a 3, which means it's not a terrible play. It's still below average. There are a lot of 4 provision cards that are 6 power that locking doesn't really solve, but it gives me a little hope that control is not dead. Control might be able to generate power without deleting power from your side of the board. That is the main difference between removal and a lock. A lock prevents future points but does not invalidate the points you've already played, while removal does both, which was always kind of scary. It is a happy direction to be going in, and our players might be happy, but their faction is no longer being deleted, or at least came out of their cycle bin. Most debuffs, as always, very excited. Buffs are always exciting. Nerfs just mean, hey, I guess the deck I've invested in is no longer relevant, while buffs, great for everybody all around. Win-win. Hey, I've had this card for a long time, but it didn't dust it because I always believed that third Witcher who isn't Eskel and Vesemir will matter again. Lambert, what a prick. That's the guy. That he's gonna matter again. And Ciri Nova, oh boy, I hope they rework her because no one's been using her because it's almost impossible to make her work with a unit minimum. So it just opens up more deck types to play. In theory, I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen, but it mostly happens with buffs. With nerfs, what happens is, oh no, something that's been holding down another deck type is gone, and now they're free to rise from the ashes to take over the ruins that a previous deck left. Now with buffs, it's more exciting. There's more things to try. And it's great for CDPR because more good cards means a greater incentive to buy cards. Buy Gwent packs. If you like buying stuff and not sure what you're gonna get out of it, buy Gwent packs. You might also like gacha games. I am not encouraging gambling. And our identity worked on? I mean, come on. I have complained about this before, and so I will only touch on it a little. It's getting reworked again. It's a little frustrating, and I can't really explain why. It's sometimes frustrating. Like, the core skills still apply, but it's just that, well, I guess We'll just delete everything we've learned in our expectations. It's free! You're getting stuff for free, and it's probably an improvement, and I shouldn't complain. But here I am. I will try to tamp down on that. Quality of life changes included. Hooray! Net positive for that. Mobile's played a lot in the CDPR office. The only thing I'm gonna say about mobile is this. It will increase the user base in theory, and more people playing Gwent means a healthier environment for Gwent, and the greater the odds that it's gonna be supported way down the line. It's not gonna end up like in the artifact dumpster. The next expansion will be shocking according to Slama, which probably means it has some sort of lightning. Trinet will be the Syndicate faction ambassador. He fucking deserves it. Holy shit, congratulations Trinet. Patch notes on Tuesday and patch notes on Wednesday, which means I'm getting patch notes tomorrow, and I am probably gonna play Thursday evening my time. Just check out the stream schedule. It's on twitch.tv/PioneerTV. Woo! Cross promotions. Doing great, Pat. Missing Syndicate premiums are coming. Hooray, we no longer look like a cheap mobile game. I'm kidding. All 6 missing leader trees are coming. That's nice, I guess. Barnabas and RNG bugs finally fixed. The RNG bug that we're talking about is apparently a quirk in their engine. It is that something that has been hit by a random effect is likely to be hit by that random effect again. You might have noticed this with Nathaniel Pastori, who keeps bleeding the same unit over and over again, and everybody is sad. Now that's apparently fixed. I guess further testing will apply. I can respect that. No matter how big your company's team or your QA team is, it is nothing compared to a bunch of people who want to be good at a game. Like, they will find bugs, something to complain with, something that's in their way, something they thought was cool and then ended up, I'm sorry, it's broken. They're gonna find it, and then we're gonna let you know. So the question mark, totally respect that. Also respect the energy that Borza and Slama bring to these updates. And these guys are primo. 20 cards will have full mill value, so those are probably nerfs or changes that shift them far enough from their original design that full mill value is justifiable. Borza can't also pronounce Landsknecht. I can't blame him. It is a difficult word. Patch notes will have comments again. That is very meta. We're gonna move on. Gameplay changes. Damage dealing has been reduced. We have discussed that already, and it is, I think, overall, if not healthy, it is a change and might lead to less frustrating game states. I have always said, blame the game, not the gamer or the player. Blame the play, not the player. That feels like it flows off the tongue better. And when I run into no unit decks, that's just, I mean, it's sound strategy. You apply a strategy that requires a very, very narrow response to beat it. That's legitimate in a ladder. And it's frustrating and it's annoying, but that's how it goes. Welcome to card games. Power in many cards increased, which means bigger tempo swings, and our expectation of what is an average point value is going to change, which will be reflected in my spreadsheet once I eventually complete it. Seriously, I found data entry fun for like 2 hours and then it was over. Reach removed completely. Reach was a thing that mattered when we had 3 rows. Now we only have 2. And Reach, I think Reach has its value. Reach rather had its value in that it forced a specific play. It let you counterplay an expectation of what had Reach to manipulate where a guy could play his unit. In theory. In practice, I don't think it ever worked that way. At least not. It was not prevalent enough for them to justify keeping Reach. So I can respect them removing that keyword. Roll-locked cards will be more frequent in the future. A-okay. NR will remain the most greedy faction in the game, which is probably why I have a lot of problems playing NR. Greed does not feel good half the time, especially when you are punished for it. It's like putting your hand in the cookie jar and someone cutting off your hand. 28 NR cards reworked. Yeah, it's a new faction. Who else gets 2 new factions in the space of a month? 2 new categories for NR cards. Warfare. 45 cards will have this category in the patch, also referred to as Warcraft. This is basically like a signifier, a keyword. It's not a keyword. It is a type, not a type. Special card is a type. Unit card is a type. It is a subtype. Much like spells or beasts. It doesn't do anything by itself. It is referred to by other cards, so don't worry about it. Siege engines, same thing. 3 new keywords for NR. New is a strong word, but it is what the word we're using. Crew, trigger visibility of his units between 2 soldiers. This is a new keyword. The old keyword was crewman. The crewman had to land first, and then it activated a crewed something or a siege engine or something. It did something way back when in open beta. So if it's between 2 soldiers, it does a thing. It supports planning. First of all, my arm teleported because I had a long break and a very long brain fart. It also indicates, it signals certain things to the opponent, which adds a level of mind games, which I do appreciate. Resupply, trigger this ability whenever you play a warfare card. Seeing as only 4 to 5 warfare cards are in the game, unless we double up on special cards or some of those are units, I doubt this is going to see much play. Have you seen Crimes? Actually, you probably have, it's not bad. Inspired, trigger this ability if this unit's current power is higher than its base power. So this is now the keyword for boosted units. Sure. Damage is still gonna matter to this because we can just keep their current power lower than its base power. So I think that's a good way to approach it. It adds granularity. It's not just like this is dead or this is active, this isn't active. It does a thing, but it does it better when it's inspired, and that is a good direction to take this thing. They did preview some change cards like the Dune Banner, who is back, baby. Whenever it receives a boost, it summons a copy of itself from your deck to this row, which is great for the Blue Stripes Commando. I can see that degeneracy happening since Gimpy Gerwin is basically dead. Vess now damages a unit of all by 2. Oh, bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mommy Vess. No longer will she bring down the Vess Hammer, she just brings down the Vess Poke. Order, she gives Zeal to an allied unit. So same card, but does not damage as much anymore. Adernian Mauler, order melee damage an enemy unit by 2. I remember this, it's Forster. 4 provision cost. It is essentially a 6-point card. And you know what makes it good? If they spend control on your Adernian Mauler, you're winning. Because they just removed 2 points, and while that might matter like down the line, they're still not using it on your more high value engines. Not even an engine, it's just like it's delayed 6 points. You know what also makes it, you know what a Durnian Mauler means? We have an alternate drop for Portal Northern Realms decks. Because the problem with Portal is that it is a summon and not a play effect. So battle cries, not battle cries. Deploy effects, do we? Yeah, we have deploy effects here. Deploy effects do not trigger. But orders and passive effects like the Tridam Infantry do. So now we have an alternate target for it. But most NR decks are super greedy and just decide, you know what? I'm just gonna mulligan those away and hope the portal is great. Roach Merciless, a frankly awesome and bizarre card. He is merciless, but the only thing he does is capture. He is slow, which applies mercy, and he doesn't actually kill things. So it's very confusing why the original Roach Merciless was actually called Roach Merciless. But now it also deals 2 damage, much like Vess. On death blow, he gains Zeal, and then he can spawn a Blue Stripes Commando and summon it to this row. So he is essentially 6 points plus whatever his power is. Kira Metz no longer looks for a spell. Instead, she deploys and gives adjacent units vitality for a duration equal to the base power. So that's gonna be confusing and probably unplayable. I mean, I'm lying. That's probably not true. It's probably not unplayable. Every time I think something is unplayable, it ends up being amazing, which is a sign of how well I understand the game. But I feel like Vitality's have always been this weird gimmick. It feels like a passive engine, but it's probably better now since damage is no longer as prevalent. If you cannot just remove a unit that has Vitality on it, then Vitality might matter a little bit more. Temerian Drummers no longer apply Zeal and +1. They instead, on every allied turn end, boost the unit to the right by 1. Good stuff. John Natalis no longer gives everybody Zeal. I believe they're removing that thing now and instead giving more effects. Deploy melee player warfare card from deck. You might remember this from open beta when he used to look for a tactics card. Now he looks for a warfare card. And now the rain is beginning again, and I hope that's not too bad. Bloody Fail, no longer an artifact, just a special card, but gives an enemy unit bleeding for 8 turns. For each soldier you control, decrease the bleeding duration by 1 and damage that unit by 1 instead. So this can actually hammer down for 8 if you have 8 soldiers, which is super goddamn unlikely unless you're running, say, Soldier Humans plus Draug, which is really hard to stop short of an Oxen Seret. Could be good. It's also 8-point removal. So I can kind of respect it in that it is a special card. Again, not furthering your agenda. Requires some synergy to really remove a card first. So respectable. Fortress Pride. Rip no longer just hits everything with the same power. Instead, it has Zeal, Order Melee, damage a unit by 1. Charge 1. Crew. Damage a unit by 2 instead. Now, isn't that worth it? Who knows? But if we have more things that give charge, aka Damavend, if I'm presuming he hasn't been changed, then it could be something. But that thing, it's not gonna die, but goddamn is it gonna get locked. And I'm pretty sure there are no Purify effects that are attached to soldiers. So that could be a good way to balance it out. And worst, it's 1-to-1. Trading 1 charge for 2 is relatively rare unless you're Syndicate. And even Syndicate, trading one charge, 1 coin for 2 points of power is relatively rare. Consider it a bonus. A Siege Master, deploy, boost an allied unit by 2. Wow, that sure is a siege. Resupply, boost an adjacent engines, siege engines by 1. A lot of boosty boys going around. I like it. I'm probably gonna play. Nilfgaard seems really fucking good for all the people who are gonna try enter. I hope they get changes. They probably won't. Lyran Landsknecht. Formation. Order, damage a unit by 1, inspire, damage it by 3 instead. That same old. It just applies the new card, the new the new keyword, and is really good with Maeve. Still, and I mean, it's also good because you can put information, put it beside a Temerian Drummer or an Anna Stranger who now no longer needs to be inspired to boost both things. Well, she does need to be inspired to boost both things, but if she's not inspired, if she's wounded, she just boosts the unit to the right by 1. Neat stuff. Keeping things boosting to the right side, to one particular side, is critical for them to not stack on one unit. If they want to create a super unit, somebody invincible, somebody, say, hit by an Avalok, you can just surround it with 2 things, one that boosts to the left, one that boosts to the right. That is not left or right. Wait. Technically it is. It counts. This is a way to manage just stacking on an invincible unit. They really don't want that meta back priority. I mean, look at what they did to my boy Eridan. Kid when a cavalry now gets a shield, and when it uses its shield, boosts health by 2. Damned Sorceress no longer hurts things, instead it has 5 power, Zeal, or to remove a unit's shield and boost health by 2. Roderick of Duntine, who you may know as the stronger Prince Willem because it lets you pick 2 specific golds. Well, not 2 specific golds. It lets you pick between 2 golds, Nilfgaard Spy, 6 provisions instead of 7, so it's a bit more playable, and now is strictly better, which is appropriate because it is a faction card. Alba Armored Cavalry, 4 strength instead of 3, always good to see. And Lyran Cavalry is now 4 strength instead of 3. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, there's not a lot to consider here. There is just like, hey, we're working on it, here is a bunch of improvements, which is why my response has still the Saitama okay. But I'm just excited to see different things coming out of the game. Is bounty still gonna be a thing? I don't know. If they reduce the damage on a lot of cards, it might make bounty more dangerous to proc, but I'm sure if you try hard enough, you'll still find a way to make it out. So anyway, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, you can subscribe to the Dark Fluffy Cloud channel. So don't miss a thing. I cannot make this wider. If I try to make it bigger, even though it is recording at 1080p, it is actually not. It's actually just going to stretch out my entire thing. Unless this is me not being stretched out, and I like to think that I look thin, but apparently I'm not. If I didn't need to stretch it out and put on the extra pounds. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, you can subscribe to the Dark Fluffy Cloud channel so you don't miss a thing. You can also follow and subscribe at twitch.tv/PatinatorTV. The schedule is there. Time zones may vary, so there's a time zone friendly thing and below the screen in the panels. You can also leave a comment telling me what you think, telling me what you're hoping to see. We're also going to do this for the patch notes coming out tomorrow, and we're probably going to have a night stream to celebrate the coming of the patch. You know what? That doesn't really jive with our extra. So, I'm Patinator. We can do better.